World's scariest prison escape. Truth or conspiracy? Some prisons are built to keep people in, others to erase them from history. High walls, barbed wire, 24-hour surveillance, and locked steel doors, all designed to contain society's most dangerous minds. Yet in the dead of night, against all odds, some still vanish. And when they do, the world is left with one question. How welcome to ADX Florence, a maximum security prison in Colorado, USA, often called the Alcatraz of the Rockies, home to terrorists, drug lords, mob bosses, and criminal masterminds. ADX Florence is reputed as the most secure prison in modern history. Inmates here are kept in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. Communication is tightly restricted. Escape? Theoretically impossible. At least, that's what the authorities claim. But on a cold night in early 2015, whispers of the unthinkable began to spread. 3 inmates were missing. No alarms had sounded. No guards had noticed a thing, until morning roll call. What followed was a media frenzy, a federal manhunt, and a string of questions that remain unanswered to this day. How could anyone escape a facility built like a fortress? And if they did, why did no one see it coming? Let's rewind. The ADX Florence supermax was designed to be the end of the road. It's where the U.S. government sends prisoners too dangerous or disruptive for even regular high-security prisons. Inside, the walls are lined with motion detectors, pressure-sensitive floors, and miles of reinforced steel. The cells are small, sealed, and soundproofed, so inmates can't even communicate through walls. Every movement is tracked. Every sound is monitored. The design is more than security. It's psychological warfare. So when reports emerged that 3 inmates had somehow disappeared from this impenetrable place, the public was stunned. The escapees were not just anyone. They were high-profile, high-risk criminals, men who knew the system from the inside. One was a cartel enforcer with military-grade survival skills. Another, a former engineer turned white-collar criminal with an obsession for puzzles and systems. The third, a lifer who had once bragged about escaping reality through sheer mental focus. A strange trio. Not friends, not allies. Yet somehow they vanished together. The official report claimed the escape was technically possible, but extremely unlikely. It gave no timeline, no footage, and no answers. The public wasn't convinced. The FBI launched a massive investigation, swarming nearby areas and checkpoints across several states, but weeks turned into months. No leads, no arrests, no bodies, just silence. And that's when the conspiracy theories began. Some believed the escapees were killed during the attempt, and the government covered it up to protect the prison's reputation. Others claimed the trio had help from the inside, rogue guards, or even federal agents. More extreme theories suggested the escape was staged entirely, and the inmates were secretly relocated by a shadow agency. No theory could be proven, but none could be ruled out either. The incident shocked the world not just because of the escape itself, but because of where it happened. ADX Florence was built to be inescapable, every stone a statement of power, control, and absolute containment. If prisoners could escape that, what did that say about the justice system, the illusion of security, or the stories we're told? Some say this was the greatest prison break in modern history. Others say it never happened at all, that it was all smoke and mirrors. But everyone agrees on one thing. Something isn't right. As we dig deeper into the facts, the gaps, and the theories, ask yourself, was this a miracle of criminal genius, or a manufactured mystery hiding a darker truth? Because when the world's most secure prison fails, it's not just the inmates who escape, it's our trust in what's real. The night the fortress cracked. It began like any other night inside ADX Florence. Cold, silent, still. The air was heavy with routine. Inmates were locked in, lights were dimmed, and security systems were running like clockwork. But somewhere, behind steel-reinforced walls and shatterproof glass, 3 men were rewriting the rules of impossibility. According to what little has been pieced together from leaked reports and anonymous insider claims, the escape was nothing short of surgical. No alarms were triggered. No surveillance cameras caught a thing. It was, by all appearances, a vanishing act inside the most heavily guarded prison on Earth. The timeline remains a mystery, but most analysts believe the planning began at least a year in advance, possibly longer. The trio, though kept in solitary confinement, allegedly communicated through coded messages hidden in food trays, laundry, and even subtle knocks against the plumbing system, a technique called the ADX Morse. Each of the three brought something crucial to the table. Inmate number 1, a former military engineer, had detailed knowledge of construction materials and blueprints, skills learned before his incarceration. Inmate number 2, a cartel enforcer, was resourceful and strong, capable of building and improvising tools from anything available. Inmate number 3, a master manipulator, had allegedly gained the trust of a low-level staff member, someone who may have supplied a critical item, a blank keycard. The method, while still unconfirmed, is believed to have involved multiple stages, each more daring than the last. Step 1. Isolation breach. Each inmate, confined to their own cell, began by weakening structural elements over months. Using smuggled fragments of metal, sharpened plastic, and even toothbrush handles, they gradually loosened bolts behind wall panels, created small gaps in the concrete flooring, and disabled individual cell sensors. All this had to be done without triggering noise or movement alerts. Step 2. Internal access. One of the prisoners allegedly gained access to a crawl space behind the plumbing system, a narrow, rat-infested tunnel meant for maintenance workers only. From there, they accessed a rarely monitored utility shaft that ran vertically along the building. How they bypassed infrared sensors and motion detectors is unknown. Some speculate a small drone was used to map the shaft in advance, smuggled in and operated covertly. Step 3. Uniforms and disguise. Somehow, the escapees got their hands on guard uniforms. Whether these were smuggled in piece by piece or crafted inside using prison laundry materials is unclear. Security tags, name patches, and fake ID badges were reportedly found missing days after the incident, suggesting insider involvement. Disguised as janitors or junior staff, they walked the inner corridors unnoticed, bypassing multiple security checks. Step 4. The final gate. The last barrier was the outer perimeter, a massive fence topped with razor wire and monitored by floodlights and guard towers. Here's where things get even stranger. According to one theory, the escapees used a maintenance vehicle left unlocked near a service bay. Covered by the shift change, they simply drove out. The official logs for vehicle movements that night? Mysteriously deleted. Was it humanly possible? Barely. Every part of the plan relied on precision, timing, and nerves of steel. The temperature in the crawl space dipped below freezing. The vertical shaft had no footholds, one slip, and it was a 60-foot fall to certain death. The perimeter fence carried a 10,000-volt current. Any miscalculation could have killed them instantly, and yet, no blood, no bodies, no alarm, just absence. The horror lies not only in the escape itself, but in what it suggests. If this fortress could be breached, what other impossible systems are quietly breaking from within? Some experts still argue that the escape defies logic. Others call it the most brilliant prison break of the century. Either way, one truth remains. 3 men walked into the darkness of ADX Florence. No one saw them leave, but they're gone. Silence behind steel. The official story falls apart. The morning after the escape, chaos gripped ADX Florence. Guards scrambled from cell to cell, security officers double-checked surveillance feeds, and federal agents were on the ground within hours. The impossible had happened. 3 inmates, considered the most dangerous in the system, were gone. The official narrative, released by the Bureau of Prisons, BOP, 2 days later, was terse, almost clinical. It confirmed an ongoing security breach investigation and stated that 3 inmates were unaccounted for during morning roll call. Beyond that, authorities offered very little. No names were released at first, no photos, no timeline, just the same phrase repeated in every press statement: "There is no indication of staff involvement at this time." That line raised eyebrows immediately. The first detailed incident report, issued a week later, claimed the inmates had escaped through unauthorized access to a service tunnel, though it failed to explain how they got out of their cells or bypassed 24/7 surveillance. The report included no footage of the escape, no logs showing sensor activity, and no timestamps of breach events. Instead, it focused heavily on vague, structural vulnerabilities and potential procedural oversights. For a prison that monitors every heartbeat inside its walls, the lack of specifics was alarming. Contradictions began to surface. It didn't take long for independent journalists and whistleblowers to spot glaring inconsistencies in the official story. First, the timeline. According to the BOP, the escape likely occurred between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., but leaked internal memos showed that an internal motion sensor near the utility shaft was triggered at 12:47 a.m., nearly 15 minutes before the stated window. That sensor data was never acknowledged in the official report. Second, missing footage. ADX Florence uses more than 1,400 surveillance cameras covering every inch of the facility. But when reporters filed Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests for video from the night of the escape, they were told the footage had been corrupted due to a system malfunction. A malfunction that conveniently affected all cameras between Cell Block D and the vehicle service bay, the exact suspected escape route. Third, inconsistent staff statements. During early interrogations, at least 2 guards reportedly gave conflicting accounts of the final headcount. One stated all cells were secure as of 10:30 p.m., while another claimed to have heard something strange in the service corridor around midnight, but was told to ignore it by a superior. Those internal testimonies were later redacted from official documentation, and perhaps most suspicious of all, the deleted vehicle log. Every vehicle entering or exiting the prison perimeter must pass through 2 electronic checkpoints and be logged by both human staff and an automated badge scanner. Yet the night in question showed a 10-minute gap in the vehicle log, during which a utility truck was recorded entering, but not exiting. The driver? Still under review, according to the BOP. No name was ever released, public pressure, official silence. As the contradictions piled up, public trust began to erode. Conspiracy theories gained traction not because of wild speculation, but because of how tightly the truth was being sealed. The FBI launched a nationwide manhunt, but even they seemed to be working in the dark. Interviews with prison contractors, former guards, and ex-inmates all pointed to one thing. This couldn't have happened without help. Yet the BOP stuck to its script. No staff involvement, limited escape window, investigation ongoing. Months passed, leads dried up, the case went cold, and still, the most haunting detail remains. Despite all the resources poured into finding the escapees, not a single trace has been recovered. No fingerprints, no sightings, no DNA. It's as if the 3 men simply disappeared into thin air. In the end, the official story asks us to believe the impossible, then accept silence as closure. But as one anonymous federal agent reportedly said off-record, either this was the most flawless prison break in history, or we're not being told the truth at all. Smoke, mirrors, and missing men. As the dust settled and the official narrative began to unravel, a wave of conspiracy theories and alternative explanations flooded the media, online forums, and even whispered conversations among prison insiders. The escape from ADX Florence, deemed impossible by design, seemed to challenge everything the public believed about the U.S. justice system. With no conclusive evidence, no captured escapees, and a string of contradictions in the official reports, one question echoed louder than the rest. Was this an inside job, or something even stranger? Theory 1. Inside job, top to bottom. The most prominent theory, supported by several former prison employees and independent analysts, is that the escape was facilitated from within. Too many coincidences align too perfectly for this to be a solo operation by inmates. Former ADX guard JT, who spoke anonymously with an investigative journalist, claimed he was told not to speak to federal investigators about that night. He recalls strange activity in the week leading up to the escape, maintenance workers showing up during off hours, not logged in official schedules. A newly transferred guard assigned to all 3 inmates' blocks, who mysteriously quit the day after the escape. And perhaps most damning, surveillance equipment in one sector of the prison undergoing routine maintenance the same night the inmates vanished. According to this theory, someone with high-level access provided uniforms, keycards, and access to blind spots in the surveillance system. The escape, then, was not just allowed, but coordinated. Supporters of this theory also cite the suspicious deletion of the vehicle logs, which conveniently removed any record of a utility truck leaving the grounds. Despite multiple backups in place, the data was lost in a software update, a near impossible failure, unless done intentionally. Theory 2. They never escaped, they were removed. This theory suggests the inmates didn't break out, they were taken out. Some believe they were removed covertly by a government agency, either to be used as informants, subjects of black site experimentation, or to disappear inconvenient individuals who had seen too much. One of the escapees was allegedly tied to a foreign intelligence scandal years before his imprisonment. According to a leaked document, unverified but widely circulated, he had previously offered information in exchange for leniency. Some believe the government accepted, but chose to extract him in secret rather than risk a legal trail. Supporters of this theory point to how quickly the media was silenced. After a brief flurry of headlines, coverage died down almost overnight. Several investigative articles were removed from websites within days, citing national security concerns. Why would a prison break, no matter how high profile, be treated as a classified matter? Theory 3. They didn't survive the escape. A darker possibility is that the escape did happen, but the inmates never made it out alive. Some believe they were killed during the attempt, either by accident or design, and the entire story was covered up to protect the prison's reputation. A former contractor who worked on the facility's underground system claimed that a failed escape through the utility shaft would likely lead to death by either electrocution, hypothermia, or suffocation. If the men died during the escape and their bodies were unrecoverable or too decomposed to identify, the prison may have opted for silence rather than scandal. This theory aligns with how no physical evidence, no clothes, tools, or biological traces were ever found. But skeptics argue, why not just report a failed escape? Why create the illusion of a successful one? The witness that changed everything. One of the most intriguing pieces of evidence came from a truck driver who claimed he saw 3 men matching the inmates' descriptions at a gas station in Nevada, 2 states away, 3 days after the escape. He reported it to local police, but the footage from that gas station was never released. When questioned by reporters, authorities simply said, "We're looking into it." Then, nothing. In the absence of clear facts, theories flourish. Whether the men escaped with help, were smuggled out by higher powers, or vanished in death, one thing remains certain: the truth is buried deep, and someone wants it to stay there. Because when facts disappear faster than fugitives, conspiracy starts to sound a lot like reality. Escape or illusion? What really happened at ADX Florence? When the dust finally settled over the mysterious disappearance of 3 inmates from the most secure prison in the United States, one thing was clear: nothing added up. The official story, laced with gaps and contradictions, left far more questions than answers. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories, often dismissed as fiction, began to feel disturbingly plausible. Let's look at the facts first. ADX Florence is engineered to be escape-proof. Every inch of the facility is surveilled, secured, and separated. Inmates are isolated 23 hours a day. Communications are restricted. Cells are fortified with reinforced concrete and steel. The outer perimeter is monitored by floodlights, electric fencing, motion sensors, and armed guards. By design, no one gets in or out without being seen. And yet, 3 inmates disappeared without a trace. According to the official investigation, the escape occurred sometime between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. The men accessed a utility shaft that bypassed the main security zones. Surveillance footage was corrupted, and key vehicle logs were incomplete. There was no indication of staff involvement. But this version of events is riddled with contradictions. Key security footage just happened to be lost. Sensor logs showing movement at 12:47 a.m., 15 minutes before the stated window, were never explained. Witnesses, including prison staff, gave inconsistent testimonies. And perhaps most damning, a service vehicle entered the facility that night and was never properly logged leaving. In the vacuum of hard evidence, three dominant theories emerged. 1. The inside job experts, whistleblowers, and even ex-guards suggest this was a coordinated effort involving prison staff or individuals with access to high-level systems. The timing, the disguises, the missing footage, it all points to someone helping from the inside. Could a handful of corrupt staffers or a compromised administrator have turned a fortress into a tunnel? 2. The secret extraction. This theory suggests the escapees didn't escape at all. They were removed by a government entity. Perhaps they were informants, assets, or liabilities the government no longer wanted the world to see. In this version, the escape was staged, the media silenced, and the public misled. A prison break used as camouflage for covert relocation. Implausible? Maybe. But the speed with which the media attention disappeared raises serious red flags. 3. Escape gone wrong. In the grimmest version of the story, the inmates did try to escape, but died in the process. Whether from a fatal fall in the shaft, electrocution, or being shot during an unauthorized breach, this theory suggests their deaths were covered up to protect the prison's reputation. After all, if the bodies were unrecoverable, or the truth messy, wouldn't silence be easier? And then there's the missing witness, a gas station employee who reported seeing three men matching the inmates' descriptions days after the escape. His account was never followed up publicly. Surveillance from that location was unavailable. Why suppress a potential lead if the goal was recapture? So, what are we left with? On one side, a vague official report, technical failures, and a lack of physical evidence. On the other, growing whispers, ignored witnesses, and a trail of conveniently missing information. The lines between truth and deception have blurred. Facts are scarce. Theories are many. Certainty, nowhere to be found. And now, it's up to you, the audience, to decide. Was this the perfect escape, orchestrated with brilliance, patience, and the kind of precision that belongs in a Hollywood thriller? Or was it a carefully constructed cover-up, hiding truths too dangerous to surface, about corruption, complicity, or control? In the end, this isn't just a story about three missing men. It's a mirror held up to the institutions we're told to trust. Because if the most secure prison in the world can't keep its walls from crumbling, or its secrets from leaking, what else is slipping through the cracks? Truth or conspiracy? You decide.